All right, we are live here on this Monday night, Season 3, House of the Dragon, Episode 1, Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood. I'm joined by a very special guest, the one, the only, David Heiman. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. It's great to see you. It's great to be
Yeah,
here. I'm honored.
we're honored to have you. So explain, before we get into this episode, have you been a Game of Thrones guy your whole life? Have you been just jumped in on the House of the Dragon? What's your kind of backstory with that?
Good question. So I was late to the Thrones train. I can't lie. I first started the show as in Game of Thrones, I want to say fall of 2023. So definitely late. It took me a couple seasons to understand what was going on. Once it clicked for me, which was around um, Battle of Blackwater. I think everyone kind of came together around then. I was like, oh, I understand who the characters are. Was clicked at that point. Immediately was like, this is my type of show. Pretty much cruised through the last 6 seasons at that point. Obviously, have my own thoughts on the ending of Game of Thrones. Since watching for the first time, I have been to filming locations in Girona, Spain, and Seville in Spain. I've been in Iceland to filming locations. I want to go to the UK to see the locations. And I've read the book of the history of the Targaryen. I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but the part that has the House of the Dragon, although I skipped that part of it to make sure that I was spoiler free going into the show. And I've watched the first 2 seasons of The House of the Dragon and Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, naturally. So you can call me a super fan at this point.
Respect. I was fall 2023. The first season of the show is already out, I think. Right?
I had watched House of the Dragon when the first season was already fully aired. So I watched all of that in a couple sittings, and then season 2 I watched episode by episode.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I don't know. We kind of touched a little back and forth. I didn't want to, get too into it. We didn't have the stream. So, episode 1, um, brutal. Brutal. I
Yeah,
think I have to. Let's preface this: are you team green or team black, or do you just observe the chaos?
I I lean Rhaenyra, but it's hard because is so she's so reserved in her willingness to fight, and I think we're used to, at least from Thrones, a lot of the heads of houses or whatnot being willing to put themselves out there. You have like Jon Snow, you have Daenerys, you have like Jaime, Tyrion, but they're putting themselves on the front line. I don't love Rhaenyra, but I love the crew that surrounds her. And then the Aemon side of things obviously is pretty icky. I like Alicent, but I don't feel passionate about a lot of the characters in the show like I did in Thrones.
I'm team black. I can't
Okay,
respect what's team green, motherfucker.
long-winded answer for me, as you can imagine.
Yeah, no, but I don't know. I just don't like. I didn't like Allison to start. She's actually kind of grindy when we get into this episode. Um, we've got some comments from Instagram to start. We got It's Lit from my friend Top Sheet in the chat. He says, "Dave, wake up! Dubcat is live. Yo, this dude dedicated." I think that's in regards to me right there. And he says, "Team
Appreciate
Green."
that.
I said, "Team Blackfish." All right. So obviously the biggest thing here is the death, and that took me for a loop, bro. I was actually there's those moments, and that's when you know you're watching a good television show or a good movie is when you genuinely feel like uneasy. And I am a member of Team Black, so maybe this is like a little extra to me, but I genuinely felt sad when we watched Rhaenyra's. I mean, I was watching season 1 when I was in Spain. They would come out, whatever. I'd watch the next day. And when that kid got ate off the dragon, I was like, oh shit! And now we got
Yeah,
this again, Rhaenyra's kid again. Like this woman is going through it. Like you said, I feel like she's actually chill in regards to the war, and like compared to Eamon, compared to even Allison. I feel like she's much more relaxed and much more like level-headed, and it just sucks to see this.
yeah,
Well, I have my
I,
thoughts, but what was your takeaways from the
yeah.
untimely death of just not only
I
Viserys but Vermax as well?
I first off, when Vermax was speared the second time, it was kind of like fool me once, fool me twice type situation where you kind of knew that he was going down. I was shocked that Jace was done for. I thought I didn't really know what to expect with his full character arc, but I did not think he'd be done this early. It felt like he had a lot to give. I felt like last season they could have used him a bit more, and they kind of teased that when he went over to the north and he was with the Starks at the Wall.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that was the
but
first scene in season 2, right?
that I think
That's
so,
where it picks up. Yeah.
and I was a big fan. I think it's one of those like similar to you watch Night of the Seven Kingdoms, obviously.
Yeah.
Similar to Baelor in Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where it's one of those like timeline altering moves in the Thrones universe that would a black-haired, clearly bastard son of Rhaenyra been able to take the throne if she took over? Like, who knows? But I think it's one of those like he would have been a good leader, and now you're like, Rhaenyra loses not only her son, but like someone who was relatively level-headed in the whole scheme of things in her corner too.
Yeah, I mean, well, we can get into his decisions in this episode as well a little bit too. But going back to the hook thing, that pissed me off because in the original Game of Thrones, when they just like randomly shoot down the second dragon, I forget what his name is, and that's the Greyjoy guy. That was annoying. So when I saw these things return, we're like what 150 years before even Game of Thrones. So
Yeah,
the technology isn't there, but I guess it makes sense. You hook it onto the like little collar they have.
I thought I was expecting more if they were to bring down the dragons. Like to your point, when Qyburn in Thrones, when he puts together the dragon, basically like that thing felt very powerful and felt like something that you could understand could pierce a dragon. Like it was this very powerful arrow. This felt lackluster in the ability to bring down a dragon. So I didn't love how they killed Vermax. I thought it was very like dramatic and good for TV, but relative to the Game of Thrones weapon, it didn't pack the same punch in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's just like I feel like if I were to create a dragon, like I don't know if that would necessarily be the thing. Well, and second of all, where's Bayla? She saved the first time, and obviously Rhaena has her own chick on sheep's there, but where was she was there, and it was like, oh, she's gonna. I thought she was gonna cut in under that right when he's about to sink, and then he was gonna go away, but no, untimely death, and he was surviving. He was floating. The worst part was he's like, all right, the dragon's down. We have millions of dragons in T-Black. We don't care. But then the arrows, that I feel like that was a well done scene. It hurt me a lot. That was
It did.
I
It was
see a
one
lot
of
of
those.
stuff on social media of people talking about the death and stuff, but
I think it was kind of in pure Thrones fashion where I don't know how you watch. When I watch him lying on my couch, I have like, I'm comfortable. That was one of those moments where obviously it was at the end of the show too, where it just sits you up and you're kind of in almost disbelief that happened in pure Thrones fashion, and you're going through Twitter afterwards, you're checking all the reactions,
even
and
a lot of shows.
yeah, it was a to House of the Dragon credit, they needed to start off the season strong. I think we can agree that first two seasons left some room to be desired. There were good
I like
moments.
season 1, but I feel like season 2, past episode 4, when that like big thing happens,
Agreed.
then it's like, all right, what do we do?
First 4 episodes started super strong, and then they just took their foot off the pedal for some reason. So I respect that they were doing no more of that this season, hopefully. So started off strong. I think you're going to see another side of Rhaenyra now. You have to at this point. I mean, she's been cooped up inside. The fact that she's locked in her throne room by some random Queensguard who's supposed to be, listening to her every word. It's like a lack of authority on her people. It's just weak, and have the symbolism of her tearing through her dress that I thought was pretty good symbolism and everything. But I think you probably see another side of her, which maybe is not the side of her that's going to make me be rooting for her. But yeah, you're not going to be seeing the same old with her going forward.
All right, we got some more comments to go through. So starting with Instagram, Will Kaufman has joined us in the Instagram live chat.
What's up, Will?
He's got a off-brand thing here, but we answer all questions. He says thoughts on TFO winning Hallie, HLLE, the tennis guy.
I wish I was Koff. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really know. Congrats to him. Another question from Top Sheet who says, "What would you do if your name was Greasing Peanuts?"
Would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't really know how to address that. I feel like we got to go for the just wait out to 18 go for YouTube. And then Will Kaufman says, "Good question." To Zach Colt has just joined. He says, "McFraud takes."
Damn,
Got the
I
whole
like your
group here.
takes.
Yeah, I feel like we got to throw out some hot takes.
Yeah, gotta
We're
keep the
also
viewers
joined on
in.
YouTube, which I can pull up for you. So we have Christopher Head 9274. He says the MT peak was good. I don't like violence of it, but the rise and fall of power is interesting to see with her downfall. Do you understand what's going on in this comment?
No, I don't. I'm thinking he's talking about Rhaenyra, and I agree that if this is about Rhaenyra, I agree that seeds of her downfall is a good way to put it. I think each one of these deaths, it's similar to like Daenerys, how each one of her close people to her, whenever they passed, it got her closer and closer to going mad. I don't know if you'll say that with Rhaenyra. Again, I didn't read the spoilers when I read the book, but I think you're probably going to get a similar arc of someone who's lost a lot of close advisors, and in Thrones fashion, I would imagine that Jace will be nowhere near the last one of her close people to perish this season.
All right. And yeah, then to say dragon seeds. It's Diamond's turn next. I don't know, is there a diamond? Moving? Varhar's too soon. I'm guessing that means the dragon.
Vhagar, the dragon. Yeah, I would think. Yeah, I would agree. I think Vhagar and Aemon is an interesting story. We can get into that because I know we text about Aemon and everything, so I don't want to rush
we'll
ahead.
That, sure. Maybe Rhaena will build her house onto a high mountain.
You get that with Dragonstone already.
Yeah, I feel like they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
True Queen of the Vale and Mountain. I feel like they're good with it.
I like where Christopher's head's at, but more English would be good.
All right, we'll double back to Instagram. Zach Colt says, "Turn up the audio. I've moved closer to my mic. I don't know how to turn up the audio. I feel like maybe you're wearing AirPods and those things aren't good."
Yeah.
Just a guess.
Sorry, Colt.
Will Kaufman says, "Cricket wireless cell service." And Colt says, "Can we get a Starlink connection on this?" All right. Top Sheet says, "Burger King Wi-Fi." Zach Colt says, "Stop glazing, Christopher." All right, let's get back to the actual show here. So yeah, we kind of went over anything else on the Jacaerys and Vermax's unfortunate death.
I mean, super sad. I think Jace was probably one of the few characters that I was enjoying episode over episode. I definitely don't feel the same emotional attachment that I did to most of the Thrones characters. So, yeah, interested to see how they pivot from this.
All right. Well, I think if you were to remove that aspect of it, the second part of this equation is definitely the Battle of the Gullet. Intense, probably what was that, last 20 to 30 minutes of the episode between Sea Snake and Lohar. Now, maybe I was just so phased out in season 2. I do remember them visiting Lohar, maybe, but I don't remember her.
Yes, yeah. So what happened was it was Tywin Lannister went over there and they wrestled in the mud, I remember.
Yeah.
And Lohar had basically gotten him subdued under the mud, and he ended up fighting back, and it looked like he had gained some of her respect. Clearly not enough to be kept on the boat when it mattered, but that was the gist I remembered. I didn't love that storyline. It felt like they were forcing a character down our throats that didn't really need to be there, but what do I know? I didn't, so.
Yeah, well, I loved the Battle of the Gullet. Well, we'll get into...
The battle, yes, yeah. More Lohar I was speaking of, yes.
I feel like it was like a one-episode arc for her. Like, this is her...
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of just her being kind of, what's that word, like, focused, lasered in on, like, trying to chase Sea Snake. And I did like the sequence of him, like, going through that very narrow mountains and then her somehow making it through, which was maybe a little bit ridiculous. But interesting stuff there. But my man of this episode, Alan, we were introduced to this guy in season 2, and his brother who are bastards, and Alan went off this episode. I feel like this was a good Alan episode, especially, he's thrown into the water, and I don't know what was going to happen. He's like underwater, and we'll talk. The Sea Snake, I was asking Steve Snake's alive after the end of this episode, but he is on the. I don't know if you watched the whole season.
I didn't, but
show.
I assumed that he would be alive. I felt like
so
he'd be one of those you'd have to see actually die for them to write him off.
So he kind of disappears, but lo and behold, Alan is here to carry the day. He's the one who can end up taking out Lohar, but I feel like we're going to get a lot more Alan this season. And I don't know, who did you think was winning the Battle of the Village? Do you think this was like a big loss for Team Black, just in terms of numbers, like they got outnumbered, or do you think this was kind of like a moral victory?
Yeah.
Like the Dragons?
I think it was. That's a good question. I would think it was a bigger loss for Team Black naturally. You know, they lost Jace and Vermax, and Sea Snake is out of the picture for a little bit potentially, or at least a lot of their ships. Obviously, both sides lost a lot of ships, but it seems like the brunt of it, from my understanding, was more ships were lost on Team Black. When the Sheep Stealer, what is that? Am I right with the dragon?
What?
The one that couldn't be controlled.
Yeah, that's Sheep Stealer.
Okay, when Sheep Stealer was burning down ships, you could tell that there was no regard for what side was which. It's clearly not very much a good listener at the moment. Maybe that'll change, but my guess would be Team Black. I think it's one of those where, Rhaenyra took Alicent's words, and I think Alicent was obviously genuine with what she was trying to do, but you got to remember that Alicent obviously doesn't actually have that much control over Team Green, and so there's only so much sway that she has, and the moment that Rhaenyra will probably not take too kindly if she sees Alicent again in person.
Yeah, we'll get to Alicent. I have something to point I want to make about Alicent, but the comments are once again flooding. So we have another comment from Christopher. He says, I have a film for you, After Death, about NDEs. Have you ever heard of After Death?
I have not. That is great.
Added to the watch list. Back on Instagram, we have ZZ Call. Says, can we get a pair of AirPods from the guy on the left? Streamed every time with this. Should be a good setup. I think that's a problem on your end. Top Sheet says, how did you feel about them saying the N-word in the last episode? Did that happen?
Don't think so.
Yeah, just trying to reiterate. Got it. ZZ Call. Finally, we have a good comment to discuss. He says, can we discuss the incest? So, no.
Thank you. So,
obviously, this is going to be a big part of the episode. Very odd scene between Aemond and Alicent. So, from your point of view, what did you see happening there? Is this just Aemond is a power play? Is he actually romantically interested, or is it just
yeah. So I mean, we had texted earlier today, and I had preemptively texted over my biggest losers. On my list was Alicent, and I think this was very high on my reason for that. I think Aemond thought that he was getting a signal there, was kind of getting like a romantic. We know how these Targaryens move and everything. I think Aemond was actually genuine that he is sexually attracted to his mom. I thought that was probably one of the grossest, if not the grossest, incest moments you've seen in Thrones over many years of it. And I think Alicent was probably as grossed out as you could possibly imagine she could be. I mean, not only was she played by fellow allies of the Greens throughout the Battle of the Gullet and didn't live up to her promise to Rhaenyra, which now led to Jace dying, but she also had to kiss her own son on the lips, which I can imagine was probably the worst thing for her to happen this episode. So super gross. I think Aemond is on a bit of a power trip right now and is probably loving it.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Aemond. I always thought he was a fucking weirdo and just a loser.
Yeah.
Not a loser, but just kind of someone.
He's very, I don't want to say insecure, but he's very, very wary of how people view him. And so is Aegon. They both are, but in different ways. Where Aegon, I think, is insecure and he knows that he's incompetent and doesn't really have the smarts to lead a kingdom. Where Aemond, I think, is has the smarts and thinks he'd be a good leader, but I don't think he has that public persona. And, I think that's where he's self-conscious is he wants people to like him, but he doesn't have that natural charisma that Aegon or Rhaenyra have.
Yeah, I don't know, I just remember, I think I started doing the recap for season 2, and every episode, what the fuck is he doing? that was a jarring moment where it's like I feel like so far in the Game of Thrones universe we've gotten a lot of brother and sister incest at least, but the mother and son now it's getting real weird with the Targaryen family. But
George does not does not hold loose when it comes to Targaryen family incest, as you could tell.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think this is it? Do you think anything further will develop from that season?
I could see Aemon wanting more. Whether he forces his hand there and does something that would be very out of pocket, I'm not sure. I think for Alicent, I think she'd be quite happy if this moment and this memory could fade into the back of her mind. But yeah, we know how these Targaryen men can get when they want their way. So I worry for Alicent.
Yeah. Obviously, those are probably some of the biggest ones this episode. We're good with that. We don't need that, George.
No.
All right. So let's rewind the tape a little bit. I mentioned I want to talk about Jacaerys' decision to not only lock out Rhaenyra, which I don't hate the decision to lock Rhaenyra in her little quarters there just to prevent her from being a casualty like she could easily been one who passed away in that battle. But the thing I didn't like is him going to be the one to go and do it. And, it's him and it's Bela, that's the sister.
Yeah.
Them two going, both of them, I feel like was maybe a little bit overpowered, but I guess not because they didn't win the battle. But it was like, you've got friggin' Oath, Hugh, and what's Alan's brother's name?
Adam.
Those three are just chilling with the biggest dragons doing nothing. And you got the two smaller dragons going to do the actual battle and stuff. So I don't know. I did like him locking her in there, but I thought him going by himself, especially now he's supposed to be like the rational one. We've kind of seen him at least calm Rhaenyra down in some parts of season 2. And then he just makes this rash decision. I was pissed off for that. I said that in my notes. Like, this is not going to end, obviously, but what we were kind of takeaways on both those decisions to A, lock Rhaenyra in, and then B, for him to want to say, I'm going.
Yeah, I don't hate the decision to lock Rhaenyra in there. Without Rhaenyra, there really is no war. Would there still be fighting? Probably, but what would be the point of Team Black if there is no Rhaenyra? So I understand wanting to keep her sheltered and Rhaenyra, say what you want, but she's the face of the movement. I think going himself noble, and you see characters like Daemon that are out there in battle that don't mind leading the charge. As I mentioned from Thrones, Jon Snow famously Battle of the Bastards, first one out there with a sword, very noble. I think the thing with Jace is he is nowhere near as skilled as a fighter, obviously, as like a Daemon or a Jon Snow, where him putting himself out there, it's short-sighted. It's I just think short-sighted is probably the right way to put it. He's not thinking in the long run. They're not in a position to be losing a dragon. It's like every dragon matters at this point, and each one you lose just lets the greens chip away slightly at your advantage.
Do we have a count on this right now? It's a big team left. It's so many.
I think they have 6. I could be wrong. It could be more. But I think it's now 6-3, and I think it was 7-3 before this episode, because you have Rhaenyra, Daemon, obviously not Vermax, but Rhaenyra, Daemon. You have the 2 girls, and then you have the 3, whatever you want to politely call them. So I'm pretty sure that's it on their side. And then you have Aegon, Aemond, and is it just 2? Or is there a third? Oh, okay, yeah.
But I
think
isn't Aegon's dragon dead?
Oh, he might be. You're right. Yeah, he is. Yeah, so it might just be 2 in that case. But obviously, Vhagar is.
Aemon was trying to make Helena fly, and Alicent's
that would probably make sense. Aemon clearly is the smartest of the bunch when it comes to military planning. I think the tough part is he is not the most likable and doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence from the people around him, which, to be a leader, especially in a civil war within your family, you need that. and Aemon does not have that.
Yeah. So let's keep rewinding it back a little bit. So I mentioned the kind of idiots, but I do like Adam. I think he's kind of smart. And Hugh is, I feel like he's got a decent head on his shoulders. He was just kind of put in a shit position. But Oath is the one mainly loosely speaking in this, where they're by the Riverlands or something. And then
Yeah,
this Alice, or whatever her name is, Alice, she pulls up out of nowhere, which was very creepy.
yeah, it was a little freaked out for sure. I was like, what's this girl doing right now?
Her and Damon's like late season 2 story arc is not one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
Just
no.
there's nothing there, but I guess she's gonna be a consistent character throughout. It is cool to have like a witch on scene, but what have been your kind of opinions on those three guys, and then do you think they'll be able to help Team Black, and then this can be like continued confidence?
It's tough to get a read. I think Adam, like Ellen, I think those two are in running. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I think Ellen is quickly becoming a fan favorite of mine. And I think Adam has the potential to do the same. They both seem a good mix of, I'm going to throw out a player comp here, like a Sir Davos of Seaworthy, in
That's
terms
really
of,
cool.
thank you. Like grew up poor, risen to a position of power, and they don't take it for granted like a lot of these characters do that are born into it. And so I like Adam. I think he has potential. Obviously, we've not seen anywhere near enough for me to make final judgment. But that's my kind of initial thought. I would say from there, Ulf is the non-drunk one, correct?
Hugh. Hugh's the one who has the sick daughter, and then Oath is
Yes.
like,
Okay.
the drunk in the
So
tavern.
Hugh, I like a lot. I think he stays in the Team Black's corner throughout this. Seems like someone that level-headed. His goal clearly is for fame, fortune, nobility, whatever. But listen, if you're riding a dragon, I think that's a fair goal. I like him. I like those two. I think Hugh probably has the most potential naturally, or sorry, Ulf has the most potential naturally of going off course and veering. I just think that is, Rhaenyra is very trusting that these three who don't really know each other, don't really know what they're doing with their dragons, and don't really, they didn't grow up with Rhaenyra, they didn't grow up with her family, they don't really have that much allegiance in the whole scheme of things. She's putting the three of them together to take down Vhagar. It's a lot of trust for, three people that we've seen on screen for probably a combined like 15 to 20 minutes. Would I be putting the three of them together if I was the leader of the army? Probably not. But yeah, I'm. I guess. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of see that dynamic that you're explaining, where you have Adam. I guess Adam's like the most tied into the family because Corlys is his father, but he's kind of the one who's like, no, we have to listen to what Rhaenyra's saying, we have to stay here. And Oak's like, I want to like Oak's kind of getting like Bronn of Blackwater in terms of like his just hunt for money and more.
That's a good comparison. I like that.
He
Yeah.
wants the castle. He doesn't care about glory or like
Yeah.
war. He wants whatever's going to get him the most personal gain. So that could be very troubling to watch moving forward. I feel like everything in Thrones, when it's good, which is like 90% of the time, is intentional. Like every scene matters. So I feel like that can be a potential reason like either deflects, like that's stupid in the future. And Hugh, I'm not sold on either way. I feel like Adam's definitely going to ride for Team Black, and Oath is like definitely open to deflecting, but I'm not sure what is going to motivate Oath, or not Oath, Hugh, something with maybe his daughter or something. But I don't know. I don't get a sense of which way he's going to lean. But I am curious to see like how his character kind of develops and what he kind of lands in. Go with those three characters that they stick together, or what he just ends up doing. And our girl did tell them we missed in the battle, so I think they'll be involved with some dragon actions.
Yeah. It's I think it's like push comes to shove. The three of them, they're going to have these massive dragons. Can they fight together to take down Vhagar? They might have the natural strength on their side of things, but as we've said throughout this, Aemond clearly knows what he's doing on the battlefield. I think he's, besides Daemon, the most skilled at the art of war. And yeah, I think Rhaenyra probably needs smarter people in her corner. Do I know who that would be? Probably not, but I think you can see why this was the beginning of the end for the Targaryen dynasty, basically.
Yeah, we know it all goes to shit. There's no dragons. Basically targeting stuff. But actually, I was just thinking this now. I haven't thought of this yet. Who becomes hand now that Viserys is gone? Is it the woman?
That's a good question. Ooh. See, there really are a few good options because the queen who wasn't, she's dead, and Jace is dead. I mean, Corlys, yeah, and he's obviously, who knows. I mean, who's the girl that Rhaenyra has in her chambers with her that she's had this infatuated relationship with? Maybe her?
The White Woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe her. I don't know. See, the thing is, there's not a lot of strategy in that corner. Maybe here's a good idea. You know how at the end of season 2 we saw Otto Hightower
I was just gonna say
was locked in. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah,
I'm with it.
Yeah, I could
home.
see that. I mean, something obviously has to happen with him. So that'll be my prediction. I like that. I just kind of thought of that on the spot.
Yeah, I feel like it's either him or the girl. One of those two. All right, so we've got some smaller stuff. I do want to talk quickly. I want to talk about Alicent. So I said earlier I have a take. I think it's honestly gotten really sad to watch Alicent because she actually is trying to help, and I think I wanted to kind of take back into something you said earlier. I feel like she wasn't even like being deceptive by like the people around her. Like, it wasn't like they were actively working against her, like moving against her. It was just unfortunate series of events where she's gone for a couple of days and then things all change.
For sure.
Like whatever's gonna happen. Like, she's being genuine in Rhaenyra, like walking my gates to end this war, and there is a level of camaraderie there from both of them to live with each other. Obviously, the friendship goes back years and years. Whatever. It just sucks. I feel like because I hated. I think I hated her like season 1, but we see her actually like trying to do the best, just solve the situation, end it all. But she's really getting the worst of it, where now she's got her son kissing her on the lips. She's making this, telling Rhaenyra to do this plan that's no longer going to work because things out of her control. So I don't know. I'm feeling for Alicent right now. I don't know how it gets better. Like, she's got the thing with Kristen Cole. Maybe like Kristen Cole seems like he's out to lunch.
Well, I was gonna say, so Kristen Cole, talk about a guy who's checked out. You could tell that guy's lost all motivation for whatever he has left to live. I mean, he's on his last legs. It seems like he maybe given up. I think he's lost all passion for life, you could say, which is a bummer because I think it's one of those two. Like, his character had a good amount of potential, and I don't know if it's from the book or I don't know if it's from the TV writing, but he's kind of become a bit of like a nobody after like a pretty strong start of fathering, or not fathering, but becoming very close with both Rhaenyra and Alicent in what could have been a pretty good storyline.
Yeah, it seemed like he just saw like one dragon. He's like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, which, fair enough, frankly. If you or I were on the battlefield and we saw a dragon, I don't think I'd be lasting much longer either.
I'd be running.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I want to turn the tables back onto you. I think one of the most interesting scenes from the show, very beginning, where Larys and Aegon are in the Raven cart and they're stopped. I feel like they're trying to make Larys into this Littlefinger-esque character. And I mean, Littlefinger, hate him, love him, I think is one of the most amazingly written TV characters of all time. And I feel like they're trying to do this with Larys, and I'm just not seeing his master plot, but I'm not really liking his story right now. I don't really understand what his end game is other than become as powerful as he can be. And maybe that's just what it is, but and then I want to hear your thoughts on Aegon too. Like, what do you think that's going, like, what do you think is going to go down there?
Yeah, so I was confused by that, where, Larry's is definitely been a character that I just haven't liked because of the way he's moved against Team Black and, like, grew up to strong household, whatever, and he's just, like, feeding for power and stuff. And I feel like I was kind of seeing the vision where I think he was trying to buddy up to Aegon when he was on the throne, but I think he was, like, kicked out of favor with Aemon, so now he's just like, fuck it, we fall. But now they're in the middle of nowhere. They're in Rhaenyra's territory. The people that stopped them are like, you need to bend the knee to Rhaenyra. And I don't know. I think we need to hold back for a couple episodes and see where it goes, because I don't think it's going to be as simple as they're going to just be brought to Rhaenyra and like Rhaenyra's going to use them, because it's not like Rhaenyra's going to be happy to see Aegon or like take him in. Like I think there's going to be either they're going to somehow get out of it, or I don't know where would they even go. That's the thing too. Is like
I don't know. I think another thing too is like, does Aegon even have enough sway within Team Green that if he goes over to Rhaenyra and he's like, I swear allegiance to you, I bend the knee. I mean, it helps. I mean, technically he's the king of Westeros, but it doesn't really seem like anyone has any respect for him. And so I'm curious what they even do with that, because he seems like a pretty obvious guy to just kill off in kind of a exciting death, but they've kind of wind down his story a bit, where I'm like,
strung along
yeah,
a bit, at least now, so it's got to lead to something.
Agreed. It would have been easy to kill him last season when his dragon fell, but so something's coming with him. I hope. I just don't know what it is.
I think so too. Maybe something happens to Aemon and he's like forced back into the leadership role. Because I know there's like.
Well, here's a good. So I forgot about the third son.
I was going to say the fourth brother. Yeah.
Yeah, Daeron.
He flew back in, but we haven't met him on screen. I don't think.
So I'm curious what happens there. I've been told by people that have read the book that he's a pretty crucial character, which makes sense. I mean, he's a Targaryen, probably has a dragon, or has the ability to ride a dragon. And so that, and then also, let's not forget that Jace and Luke had a younger brother, Joffrey, as well, who has been, I believe, I read at the Vale during this time. And so that's two siblings on both sides that haven't even really been in the story. Does that bring more dragons into the fold? Does that bring... I don't know.
Well, Rhaenyra sent a couple of her kids and I think 2 or 3 dragon eggs to...
Bravos, right?
Yeah, Bravos with
yeah.
Rhaena. Obviously, Rhaena came back with sheep there now. But yeah, the thing is, too, is there's rumors that there's only going to be 4 seasons of the show. I don't know if you've heard that, too.
I've heard that, too, yeah.
So it's confusing on, like, where we're going, how we're going to wrap up. Like, this season's only 8 episodes. We have a lot to pack in. Obviously, we got Battle of the Build one episode. I'm not questioning it. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we haven't met a lot of people yet. Maybe there'll be, like, some sort of, like, a cleanse point in this season almost, because we know everyone's going to die. So maybe it's, like, okay, like, maybe Rhaenyra, Aegon, and Aemon, their time kind of goes away in the middle of this season and this season.
Well, here's who do you think is next of the big characters to go?
I feel like Daemon's been on borrowed time.
That was my answer. That was my answer also.
I
like Daemon. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I like Daemon a lot. I thought he ended season 1 in a cool way. They kind of punted him to the curb in season 2, unfortunately.
That was disgusting.
They did him dirty, but I like that actor a lot, Matt Smith. And I worry that they'll give him a poorly written death. But I agree. I think borrowed time is the right way to put it.
There's many more characters. I thought, well, Kristen Cole maybe could go at any time too. It seems
I could see Kristen Cole sticking around for more episodes than he should, just to kind of potentially get a storyline with him and Alicent and him and Rhaenyra in there, but he needs to go.
It seems like that fellow, when Alicent wrote the letter to like stay pat, that new guy, I feel like he's a big part of it.
Well, that's her brother.
No, the other guy, the guy the brother talked to, like the big man in charge, kind of looks like. What would picture of him? What? Seems like he's made a big part of it. I thought the brother died also, so that was surprising to see him back.
I want to put in a quick funny thing of this episode. I thought it was hilarious the way the 2 Lannister brothers died. I don't know if you noticed the first one with his head being cut off, and you don't even see it on screen. And then the other one gets thrown out the ship like it's nothing. I just think it's like coming from Thrones when, you have Jaime, Tywin, Tyrion, Cersei, who all evade death throughout the show. I mean, 3 of the 4 of them obviously perish, but they last through some unsightly things. I just thought it was quite ironic that these are how this version of the Lannisters dies.
Yeah, do we know if the one who's thrown off the ship is dead?
So my understanding from the internet is yes, that he is dead. But again, it's kind of like what we said with Corliss, where we didn't officially see it, so I'm not entirely sure. But it seems like a lot of people have written him off as dead that have read it. So maybe they've read the book or something, and they know that from there.
So this is the gentleman I was talking about, Ormond Hightower.
Oh, that's the other brother. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So she has two brothers.
got it. Yeah, I didn't know where this guy came from. He kind of looks like he's John's friend in season or in Game of Thrones.
Samuel Tarly? No,
No, he looks like his brother. It looks like Samuel Tarly.
Oh yeah, Dickon.
Yeah. Looks like Dick.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought it was maybe the same actor. Okay, so yeah, I did want to mention that too. That like guy in the woods who just like throws the lance to your head and he's like, what does he say?
I don't remember what he said, but
He's
I thought
got,
it
we
was
got
really
more
funny.
lions to hunt. He throws the thing. That was hype. There was a lot of cool moments throughout this episode. Just to briefly kind of wrap it all up. Well, there is one more storyline, but before we get to that, I really liked when they were doing the Battle of the Gullet, and it's Corlys and Alan on top of the ship, and then they see the dragons come in and they just look at each other. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And then, yeah, just that scene as well with the Lannister.
I will say, you know, it felt great. Just turning on the show and you just hear the theme song.
Yeah,
It's
I
just-
had to let the whole theme song run first
Of
time.
course, yeah. When I was watching Thrones for the first time, I'd skipped through the theme song. One of my bigger regrets, I actually just did a rewatch of Thrones
Oh shit.
to, because this was a couple months ago, to rewatch everything and see what I missed. And I was letting the theme song go, so now I get very nostalgic, and I thought that was a great way just to like get back into the swing of things.
This has been the first show for me in a while, HBO Sunday night. I don't think I watched any of, I think I watched maybe the last episode of Night of the Seven Kingdoms live, but I haven't been
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't been live on a Sunday HBO, so I felt good to be back in the swing of things.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Yeah. I'm not a big Euphoria fan. So the last just kind of storyline to go over is obviously Rhaena and Sheep Stealer. I think that was kind of another part of season 2 that most people were not really messing around with when she's just obviously chasing after this dragon. It's like, just get on the dragon already, you know, we're kind of seeing where we are with that. But your kind of takes on Sheep Stealer. Obviously Rhaena finally gets onto it, and then obviously Sheep Stealer kind of goes crazy off and on, doesn't know what chips to fire on. And
Yeah.
that kind of lead up in this. I feel like they kind of speed ran that, which I was actually grateful for because I feel like we
Yeah,
didn't spend that much time
I agree.
in Bravos, but
I could see it going one of two ways. I think path one, which is what I hope, is that she tames Sheep Stealer and he becomes this amazing dragon that becomes maybe the new Vagar, that it's this amazingly hard fought dragon that's such a good warrior in battle. That's what I'm hoping for. Do I trust the writers? To be determined. And so I think the other path is that you constantly have this: will he veer off course? Will he not veer off course? Will he listen? Will he not listen? And I think that would be a frustrating storyline because I think, to your point, the viewers, and myself included in here, have kind of had enough when it comes to her chasing Sheep Stealer around. And so I'm hoping it just gets to a point where like we see what it's been building up to, and I hope it's not something mediocre.
this was enough of like, okay, the thing fucks around, like let's rein it in, you know, let's get control of this thing. People I saw were, you know, I was for the next segment I was going to say like least favorite for Rhaena, but I feel like she's only a kid, you know. I feel like she's just trying to help out, so I took her out, you know. I'm trying to be helpful here. She was
Very
trying to help.
noble.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't like it was a bad decision to instantly go in, but like when you see like your friend in danger, especially your sister, you got to go and help if you can. So I'm not totally throwing blame onto her for that. One last thing, I did love Sheep Stealer killing the sheep and then throwing one to her. I thought that was a pretty cool scene as well. This was honestly, this was for me. This was like a pretty good episode, honestly. In the grand scheme of things. So
I enjoyed it. I think just they ended on a strong note, a sad note, but a strong note with Jace. You know, it's unfortunately becoming a Thrones fan means saying goodbye to some characters that you love, or maybe most characters you love in this case. So it never makes it easier, but I think that's the beauty of a show like this, where the only thing you can expect is carnage and death and the unexpected.
and then I'm feeling an emotion in the other episode. I was just sitting there like, all right, well, we're introducing a new segment. to this channel for the House of the Dragon. Obviously, it's not quite Game of Thrones because they are chasing after the Iron Throne and the crown, but I wanted to see, who's winning this battle between the people, and specifically who in those teams is winning the battle. So I think you did some extra work for the assignment. So read off some of your honorable
My
mentions
biggest
before we get to your
losers.
biggest winner and biggest loser of this episode.
Okay, so I'll say my honorable mentions for biggest winner. I'm gonna go with Larry Strong and Aelin Valerian. I think both of them. I think Aelin especially is playing a pretty unintendedly masterful game where he's clearly going to play a huge role in this battle. And then my honorable mentions for biggest losers. I would say the Lannisters, kind of the joke I said earlier. I'd say Rhaenyra, and I would say Alicent as my honorable mentions. So I'll save my biggest winner and loser until you go and give yours.
Okay, here we go. Starting off with the biggest winner of episode 1. I'm giving this to Aemond. I feel like he didn't even have to do anything. And there's a dragon down. There's a big player, a level-headed player down on Team Black. It seems like they won this war by using the Triarchy, and the Triarchy leader dies, so it's not like you have to mess with them anymore.
Agreed.
Kind of out of the picture, and then incidentally, you have Rhaenyra walking into this death trap potentially of this open gate supposedly happening, and he's going to be there waiting with his dragon. So avoided death. Also, I think we're meant to believe he would have probably got teamed up on by those 3 guys waiting for him in the Riverlands. So I think this is an easy episode W for Aemond, and I don't know if it's that simple, but
no, I felt the same way. I mean, I think it was one of those where he didn't even really do much, and I don't think you could have scripted a better start for him. I think it's one of those where the people he lost, the people that died, he didn't need them in the long run anyways. They were disposable for him. And so I think it's one of those, like, realistically that'll change quickly as the season goes along, but I think to start, couldn't have asked for a better start for him.
I think it'd be interesting to track who we got biggest winner. All right, now time for the biggest loser. I'll let you go first. Who do you got for your biggest loser?
I said Alicent for a number of reasons that we mentioned. She had to kiss her son. She had to basically see her masterful peace plan become unraveled right in front of her eyes. I think it's one of those, like, she knows that her kids don't respect her. She doesn't have a man in her life. She lost her near and dear friend Rhaenyra a long time ago, and she tried to make an effort to get that back and failed miserably. It seems like someone who, is lonely in a position of power, and I think it's one of those. It can be very isolating, as you can imagine, and I think she feels extremely isolated and has basically no one in her corner right now.
I went a different direction for my biggest loser, but I have the same sort of sentiment for my character, Rhaenyra. I feel like losing another son, we saw her lose her first son, and I know she has more kids off screen, but these are the 2 that have been around her, at least her 2 oldest, I think. And now it just feels like, I don't know, she has White Worm around her, who's like this master of whispers, but Jace was a level-headed guy. Also, in the grand scheme of the war, she loses a big part of her army and seemingly some of this Navy stuff going on, and Corlys is now in peril somewhere. Vermax is down, you lose a dragon on those numbers. So I feel like both emotionally, maybe even more emotionally than tactically, this is a big loss for Rhaenyra, and we'll have to see how she rebounds from this.
Good answer.
Yeah, I feel like Team Black has always had the cards to win this thing, but things just keep happening where it's like it just keeps dwindling and dwindling, and it keeps seeing them go down and down. So.
Agreed.
All right, before we get to our favorite and least favorite, we have April May 274 dropping in saying hellos. Hello. Nice. All right. Favorite character. I'll kick it back to you. Who is your favorite character of episode 1? I feel like we're going to have the same one, so go ahead.
I would say Alan. I think it's just one of those, like, he's introduced last season, you have no idea what's going on, and then to jump in, first off, sick scene when he fights the random soldier and he stabs him in the neck to avoid capture. He's in the water, climbs back up top, falls back in the water. It's a lot of swimming, frankly. I'd be exhausted. I'd be done way before that. I'm really excited to see what they do with him. I think he's one of the few characters in the show that I actually could be really, really excited about episode over episode. So that would be my answer.
Same here. I thought he was awesome, and I like the scene of him and Corlys drinking together, and Corlys is like trying to like emotionally like get to him, and he's just like, "We gotta go, like go to war and stuff." So I liked Alan, and then like you said, when he jumps in the water the first time, when he jumped in the second time, I was like, "Oh, he's a pro now. He's got this. He's gonna figure this out," and he's able to kill Lahor, the big enemy of Corlys. So big W's for Alan there, and then we go to our least favorite character. I'll start this one out. We may have the same one, which would be crazy.
You start.
Sweep 3 of the 4 awards. I'm going with Aemon.
All right.
You didn't go that way? Okay, good. So there's
Eamon's not my answer, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So it might be a bad thing where like I remember doing the season 2 recaps. I have to pick pick favorite and least favorite. I feel like that's an interesting thing to add into each TV episode, whatever. And I would always think about the episode, like what happened. Who did I not like this episode? And I just think of Aemon, I'm like, I just don't like that guy. And then he does some crazy shit, kissing his mom on the lips. It's just like, I was going to say Rhaena, but like I mentioned before, I feel like that wasn't not right to give it to her based off of like her just trying to help and her being not all the way grown up. And then besides that, like I was maybe going to say Lahor as well, but or Lohar, I think that's her name. But I don't know. I feel like I respect her like passion, rivalries, and so I went with Aemon. I feel like that's kind of a cop-out answer, but that may be my answers for most of these. So
my answer, in the sake of uniqueness, will be Lenore, or whatever her name is. I think it's just one of those characters that was introduced to us in the wrong way. You know, she's introduced in episode 8 of season 2. Usually, there'd be 2 extra episodes left in the season. So if this had been an episode, if this was episode 9 of season 2 instead of episode 1 of season 3, I don't think I'd have much problem with Lenore. I'd be like, oh, quick character, introduce. The fact that it's over the span of now a year and a half since we've seen her last, I think it just rubs me the wrong way, where I'm like, kind of an unnecessary character introduced with eventful but not that eventful of a death. She might not have even killed Corlys. I can understand if she had killed a major character, but if the biggest character she killed is Tywin Lannister, we got some room for improvement. So that's my take.
Well, that's my thing. That's my one bright side about all these deaths is like at least now there's less characters. I got to worry about who's who and like trying to figure out.
Fair.
Like, especially in House, there's so many characters. Like
so
much going on that it's like hard to figure out who's who and all that. So maybe that is one positive bright side.
So we look at it.
We got some more YouTube comments before we wrap up. April May says, "Did anyone else notice that Corley's eyes turned blue on the ship?"
I did not, but I like where you're.
That's something to note maybe for the future.
Yeah,
I did not notice that at all. What color's eyes were?
I couldn't tell you.
Jake Freeland 1424 has joined us in the chat. He says, "Just finished, crazy, just in time for this episode." April says, "Watch the fight again. His eyes turn blue. Not only blue, really blue." So
really blue. Okay.
Maybe if they post, I don't know if they post YouTube clips on that too. Probably not, but maybe that's something to check out. Maybe they'll have that on like the previous. If it is important, I'm sure they'll have it on the previous. I always love watching the previously.
Yeah.
And April May says she's still freaking out about the episode. Aren't we all? Least favorite, Jake Freeland gave it to Rhaena. Yeah, I don't think you were here earlier when I said I just couldn't give it to her because I feel like she was trying to help out. You know, she didn't think we were dragging the idiot, and then I don't know. I feel like it was kind of harsh to give her least favorite. But
she's bottom tier for sure.
Yeah, it's not like she had a great episode, but it was like
it
was kind of sad to watch. I wasn't like angry.
Yeah.
LOL to his mom's lips. LOL. In text, it's Vela who helped bring Jace down, probably. Whoever it is, because Adam knows he's really bothered by it. He speaks to Corlys and leaves, basically, and loyal. He's seriously, they turn really blue during the battle. He goes nuts, like he's a whole different person. So I did see Corlys on the season trailer. It's still live. So that could be something interesting to watch as well. I think we're all curious to see what happens with him as the season moves towards an end. So anything else from your notebook before before we wrap up here
No,
tonight.
this is great. I mean,
Yeah,
what an
this was
honor to
real
be
fun.
included.
Yeah, thank you for joining. And hopefully
I'm excited. We got some future episodes to debrief as the season goes along.
Yeah, maybe we can try and get us. I mean, it's Sunday 9 p.m. We all get work Monday morning, but if we
Get a little Jake Freeland action in there too,
Yeah, next time maybe I'll do the comments and what you said. You know who could be the least favorite? The night who locked Amir in her room.
That's actually, I like where Freeland's head's at. Talk about a guy who doesn't listen to orders.
You're listening to the hand over your queen. He might be in
It's
some real deep water. He might be dead.
seriously. I mean, he will. He definitely will be.
Yeah, good shout there on that one. All right, well, we'll be back. At least I for sure will try and be back for every episode. I'm actually, I was having just some off, House of the Dragon, but podcast related. I was moving. I was on vacation, but I should be sat and still.
Congrats on the move, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be good to be here and be consistent. I'm sorry to all the loyal viewers out there. We'll be here every week recapping House of the Dragon. Maybe we'll do some short-term clips for it as well. And if there's any fun games or like additional segments people want to add in, or if you think of anything yourself, you can add that in as well. Callers, I'll have to put the link in later in the chat. And yeah, so expect that. Do you watch Silo?
I do not, but I've heard good things.
It's a good show. It's coming back. We'll be covering that as well. Lots of shows coming out this summer. The Bear, last season's coming out.
Larry David, Life, Liberty, and something. Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Larry, I think it's called.
Oh, that's coming out. I saw that. That's coming out.
Yeah, that'll be hilarious. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, big movies as well. I'm sure you'll be.
Odyssey, yes, I'm excited.
Odyssey, Spider-Man. All right, well, yeah, that'll wrap us up. Online, we have more comments. Alan should not have survived. Sure, can be explained, but he should have drowned. The sea saved him. I think April's buying.
The child of the sea.
Mythical,
yeah.
Like
Neptune, Poseidon type thing.
Yeah, I like that vibe. Where did you move to? I will not reveal my location live on stream.
No.
Sorry to the people waiting to dox me and get the FBI sent from Alice. Okay, I won't fall for it this time. All right, well, that'll wrap up here. Great episode. Thanks again for joining me. We'll be back. See you next week for episode 2 and the rest of season 3. It should be a good one. So, as always,